Kesyanov, the Deputy Permanent Representative of Russia to the Union, and Mr. Hentona, Director of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. And of course I wish you all, because you are all distinguished guests. So in this way I think that we feel comfortable. So indeed it is for the third time that we are hosting this important forum. And not because it was mutual understanding, but I want to say it very clearly. And I want to congratulate Mrs. Inga Ivanova, being the co-chairperson of the Dutch-Russian International Center for Outstanding Engagement for the success of this forum. And I have to highly prize their endeavor. You know, in the meantime, that when she's asking you something, you have only the possibility to say yes. Normally you have a choice. In this case, it is, of course, sometimes a problem, but I'm pleased to say so. And may I say it with a warm heart that without Mrs. Ivanova, this event would not take place. So this is the alpha and omega. Allow me to begin by presenting you very shortly the Union's Committee of the Regions. We are the Union's Assembly for Regional and Local Representatives. We are the youngest institution of the European Union, and when I look back to the history or the story of the European community and afterwards the political union we are, there was in fact, may I say, a lack in the Treaty of Rome, 1957, where there was, I will not speak about the illusion, but the precondition to just look to the central state level of the member states at that time. Coming from 6 to 9 to 10, 12, 15, 25, 27, the important enlargement of the Union, there was a need, and it was inter alia, the Bundeskanzler Helmut Kohl and other people, they were convinced that there was a need to have an institutional representation in the Union from the local and regional authorities. So this was finally the outcome of the Treaty of Maastricht, where the decision took place to go for the Committee of the Regions, and we started in 1994. So we are the youngest of all European institutions, and I think it's important to notice that in fact in this way the Union had to complement this representation model for the European common space. We are 344 elected regional and or local people, and when I'm dealing with local and or region, in fact the legitimation is anchored in the Treaty of Nice, where effectively the point is that overlooking the evolution of the political union we are, that at the beginning, 6 founding member states, there was only one country, Germany, with the federal model. In the meantime, looking to the 27 member states at this stage, and 28 when Croatia will be member from next year on of the Union, there is in fact a federal system in 8 out of the 27, and 8 other countries were going for a real decentralization and involvement of all layers of government. So the Committee of the Regions is realizing the special importance of relations between local and regional authorities in the Union and also their counterparts in the neighboring countries. And one out of the main issues we are discussing at this moment inside the Union is the better governance idea and concept of multi-level governance. And you know, there are in life several illusions, but the one out of the illusions is to think that all can be achieved at the central level. So based on the important principle of subsidiarity, we have to look to the, may I say, the vertical dimension of subsidiarity, local, region, state, and Europe in our case. But there is also the important what I call horizontal dimension of subsidiarity. And it means that it would be delusion to think that only institutions may achieve. And that's the reason why I'm convinced, and also as former president of the Committee of the Regions, that institutions have to give trust, space, room, responsibility to the actors in our society. It's evident for the economic entrepreneurs, but in my view it is also important to give this responsibility towards the educational entrepreneurs, the social entrepreneurs, the health entrepreneurs, and may I say this matrix between the institutional responsibility on the one hand and the civil society responsibility on the other hand. This is what we try to achieve. And of course, it has some consequences also looking to our approach to the neighbors, the friends we have, hopefully, at the borders of our common space. And for this good reason, we, and also as CIVEX committee I'm chairing at this moment, that we launched the idea to go for the Assembly for Regional and Local Authorities of the Mediterranean space, where it was also, may I say, a lesson learned that the Barcelona process of 1995 was not achieved due to the fact that it was only focused on cooperation between central state level. And the other point is, in the meantime, that we launched also the, what we call in the meantime, CORLEAP, what is related to the Eastern Partnership, neighborhood part of the policy, to go also for, may I say, understanding, for cooperation, enhanced cooperation between the local and regional authorities of the 6 members belonging to the Eastern Partnership and the local and regional authorities of the Union. But the same has to be done towards our counterparts in the Russian Federation. And as a matter of fact, the cooperation with the Russian local and regional authorities is one of the priorities of the CIVEX Commission. We have to improve, and I'm absolutely convinced that this is not an antagonism going for this close relationship, an antagonism between this relationship and the relationship between the Union and the Russian Federation as well. So we have to complement it, we have to deepen it, and we have in this way to go for a very practical, effective cooperation, because it is quintessence for this forum not only, but also for the upcoming evolution. And the title of today's forum, Regional Development in the Global Perspective, Union-Russia Interaction, is indeed very inspiring. And when meeting directly with representatives of the local politics, I realized that the live and concrete achievements are in the regions. Regional authorities, and it depends of course on the institutional architecture country by country. We have to take into account tradition, history and so on, so there is not one unique model of institutional building, but there are some, may I say, global values we have to anchor that in fact speak in terms of education, protection of environment, public transport, waste and water management, that they are in fact close and nearby to the citizens. I give you one example. When we all, not only the Union, we all, are dealing with the important challenge on climate change, on congestion, emissions, and let's say quality of life, we have to assess that 70% of all challenges, may I say all problems, are in fact at local level. We look to the density of population concentrated in urban configurations, cities and so on. We see the congestion, we see the emission concentration. So this was the idea 3 years ago, to go together with the Committee of the Regions, between the Committee of the Regions and the European Parliament, to go for what we call in the meantime the Covenant of Mayors, where when 70% of all problems are situated and located at regional or at local level, then I will not say that 70% answers have to come from that level, but effective cooperation is also effective responsibility. And in the meantime, about 2,500 mayors of Europe not just signed a paper, but committed themselves to be assessed on the progress made on this issue, just to give you this example. There is another point, because we have always to question ourselves why. Why there has to be give room and place to local and or regional authorities. Because they are the ones to be confronted the first towards, may I say, migration flows, job loss, restructuration of the economy. So, may I say, they are experienced by facts. And being experienced, it is important to notice that in this view, we have not just to look from the central state level towards the regional local authorities as just subcontractors, just executors what is decided at central level. Because the ones who are the most expertised by facts, may I say, they have also sometimes and often, the real knowledge to know how to deal with the problems. In this way, I think that it's important to notice that we can learn from each other a lot. And this is one out of the reasons why, as chair of the CIVEX committee, I intended to visit St. Petersburg next June, and to see in a tangible way, in a concrete way, how to deal with several matters, to exchange, to see, to go for your best practices and our best practices, to see how to deal with it. There is also another initiative we are discussing at this moment, and in fact to englobe the relationship between our Committee of the Regions, but let's say the regions and local authorities of the European space towards the northwest Russia, but let's say also not just focusing on this important region, but also to do it more large. And the cooperation and context, ladies and gentlemen, at the local and regional level are crucial for developing the relationship between our countries. Of course, there is a long tradition of cultural exchange, but we have also to look and to focus on cross-border infrastructure, public transport projects, and let's say sometimes it's possible to go for the right understanding, not just understanding, but cooperation in the framework also of the Northern Dimension Environmental Partnership, where the important focus is, of course, on water service or district heating, just to give you a few examples. And there are two ways of developing relationships. We know it. There is, may I say, the usual method, the top-down method. Yes? And then you have the cascade, and finally, the question is to know who is responsible for it. And the real point is about ownership of responsibility. And so in this way, I think that we have at least to complement the top-down approach and to balance it towards the bottom-up approach, and this through territorial communities as such. And today's Europe is the Europe of and with the regions that are sustainable, administrative and territorial entities. It is there to notice that in one out of our platforms in the committee, where we are assessing the, at that time, Lisbon strategy between 2000 and 2010, and now we already decided Europe 2020 strategy, that assessing the situation on the progress made in our 27 member states, and this in the framework of the national reform plans, that countries who were and are taking on board their regional and local authorities are achieving better and delivering better results for their citizens than countries just doing it a centralist or central approaching way.